Hey, Natasha here. If you are feeling like your calendar is packed to the max and you're not crossing anything off your list, or you're not seeing the results that you would like in your business, this is for you. So, in this video, we're going to talk about how to get your private practice goals to actually reflect in your calendar to move the needle. So, if you found my content helpful, I invite you to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. So this will help the channel get out in these videos to more business owners that would benefit. So when I had my private practice, and I've talked about this before, but my calendar was full. Every single day, there wasn't a spot that wasn't claimed for. But the problem was that there was no visible gains, although I felt like I was executing nonstop. So this was new projects, consistent systems, or scaling. None of that. It was just more and more effort, but no results. And so I had to learn that a full calendar was not the same as a fully balanced calendar. So having a fully balanced calendar, what that really means is one that is strategically set up for you to succeed, for that aligns with your goals. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But first, I want to ask you to reflect on some questions as we dive in. So I want you to ask yourself, does my calendar reflect both my energy and my goals? Does my current calendar show that? And then, do I have a recurring planning meeting with myself? Call this a CEO meeting with yourself. Do you have one of those? And then, what is one thing that I would change immediately that I know would give me relief? Now, this could be very different for a lot of people. I would love to know what that is. So feel free to comment that below or shoot me a DM on Instagram, because we can talk through some of these things together. So I again have my stick figure here just because I haven't decided what I'm going to do with her just yet. But we're going to go through high-level overview of some key topics. And I've talked about this in different ways, even in my Fear Chronicles podcast, which is false evidence appearing real. So if you haven't checked it out, I encourage you to do so, because there are a lot of great golden nuggets in there. And as I've said, that's my baby. I love doing the podcast just as much as I love doing these videos. So now the first thing we're going to talk is, this is all going to connect together pretty nicely as long as I don't jump ahead. But I don't even think this is a word, but I'm making it a word, which is de-pedestalize. So de-pedestalizing your goal or goals. So a lot of times we have really big goals and big visions, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it can feel very daunting. And when we have these big goals and we're looking at them and we're thinking about, wow, this is what I really want. And then all these things flood in, different thoughts, different ideas. And we start to kind of cringe, like dial back into ourselves, and we get a little scared, a little overwhelmed, a little anxious, right? So the idea with de-pedestalizing is de-pedestalizing those goals. So you take the goals off that pedestal and bring them back down to earth with you. And the reason being is, what happens with goals, especially big ones, is it creates that gap. And we've talked about gaps in different ways, especially when we talk about closing the gap being that CEO version of yourself. And the same goes with the goals, because they kind of blend together, don't they? Because your CEO self is going to have big CEO type goals, big scary goals, as she should, as you should, as we all should right now, right? So we need to bring it back down to earth and make it so it's not this huge gap. So we want the goals and we are driven to get those goals, but we can't have them up here. So we really got to bring it down. And how we're going to do that is the rest of what I'm going to talk about today. So we want to close that gap. And the way we do that is daily aligned action, right? So we are getting closer and closer, as I talked about in a previous video with the ladder method too, right? So every day we are doing something, if not many things, to get us towards that goal. And that's how you bring that goal from this pedestal back down to earth and make it less scary, because we're going to break it down. But this video now, we're going to shift on how do we even get that in our calendar? Because sometimes it feels like our calendar is separate in a way. And so that is why the planning part is so important. So one thing is we're going to go into next, which is prioritization. So I know for me, for many, many years, I had a really hard time with prioritizing things because in my mind, everything was important and everything was on fire. So I felt like I had to do a little bit of everything all the time, every day. You know what happens when you do that? A whole lot of nothing gets done, right? Because we're scattering our energy, we're scattering our focus, and we're doing a lot of things not so well when we could what? Be doing one thing really well. And I'm not saying that you have to eliminate goals or do anything, but when it comes to our calendars, because what I haven't decided what I'm going to title this video yet, but it's not a time problem. We perceive it a lot as we just don't have enough time, or it's just this time lack, a lack of supply of this time. It's just how we use it. So we need to learn how to prioritize. So we have to look at what the goals are that we have and prioritize them. And then when we prioritize which goals are either the most important and are needle moving actions to get us to those goals, that is how we prioritize what we are going to do, what actions we're going to take, and how often or to the degree of. But we have to be able to take the big goal or goals, break them down. What is the needle moving thing? We only want to be doing needle moving drivers right now. Okay. So if there's other things and this other like in your peripheral, you can't look at that right now. So if they need to get done, find someone else to do it, or again, utilize tech or something to automate or just delegate that out. Because right now, what your focus is when you're thinking you don't have enough time is you got to look at the needle moving things that are going to get you to those big goals that you have and then prioritize as such. So now that's being future present focused means. So we are in the now. So all the actions that we are taking are right now, but we are with our mind's eye, we're looking ahead at the future and closing the gap, right? That's the big idea. But you want to always be focused on definitely nothing in the past, because that was just information. We can't do anything with it. We're focused on what are the things that we are going to do now to get us to not the pedestalized goal, right? The goal that we are inching and it's getting closer and closer to us. Why? Because we are taking those daily aligned actions to get us there. So what we find a lot of times in our calendar is there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect from what's in our calendar to what our goals are. And there are reasons for that. And the biggest reason, and goals are great. I mean, I've talked in different videos and podcast episodes of first really understanding the difference between goals and standards. And with goals, what happens is goals sometimes naturally make it feel like we're separate from. They feel like they're so far in the future, especially the bigger that they are. So we have to look at the now and the actions. Goals are great to help you organize all of the goals, right? All the things that you want to do. It helps to organize, but it creates separation. So when it comes to our calendar and to take the latter steps to get there, you have to look at what can I be doing now? Break everything down. What are the smaller steps? So A, it doesn't look daunting. B, you can actually take action and get the results that you're looking for. So what is going to happen? Actually, I didn't even leave a spot for this, but what I want to say is that we need to reverse engineer. So first, what we're going to do is, because when we pedestalize, what ends up happening is we are so focused on the outcome. So when we don't start seeing, because we all have this guilty instant gratification, right? We think we do one thing, we should see a result from like 10 steps ahead, but we're not seeing it. And so we're just trying to skip over all of the steps because we just want to get there, but we can't do that. That's why we've got to look and break everything down. And we got to detach from that outcome and really look at what are the now things, aligned action tasks that we can be doing right now, and don't skip. Because what honestly, we learn so much and there's so much in the journey and the learning that if we skipped ahead, I mean, we're going to lose half the fun. Is where most of the stories come from. I feel like most of the stories that I have were from my journey, not the end result. The end result is the story in itself, but there's so many golden nuggets and things we can't skip. And you can't skip the action steps if you want to get to the goal. So you just have to be aware, you're future present focused, always have that in mind, but don't be fixated on that, how that outcome is not here yet. That's the point. You gotta kind of let that go, but know that you are making, as long as you are being disciplined and you're being consistent, that you will get there. Sometimes we can't gauge the actual time frame, but when we plan and we plan well and we prioritize, we can at least ballpark things, but you have to be present when you're doing the things. And the last thing, whoops, I don't even know if you can read that. That looks terrible, is the how. I was all skinny. I was trying to make it fatter so you can read it. Is the how. And this is where your calendar is crucial. So you've got your big goals. You decided what the needle moving actions were within those goals, and then you prioritize them. And now you are focused on, these are the now aligned actions that I'm going to take every day. This is sequentially what is going to get me here. Now the how is where you reverse engineer that. And I've touched on it in other videos, but that's where your calendar comes in. So when you plan, when I asked you if you have a recurring CEO planning meeting with yourself, did you answer no? You need to start one. And then it is recurring because it should be pretty much the same time. Doesn't have to be the same place. It just needs to be a ritual of yours. It is recurring and it is always happening, because if you're not planning, you're not executing. And, what is it? You fail to plan, you plan to fail, is absolutely true. So, and there's ways to plan. And the biggest one is reverse engineering the big goals. Because you took it off the pedestal, you took a look at it, you dissected it and said, okay, these are the things. Now, when you go to plan it in your calendar, you plan backwards. So you take, okay, this X amount, this goal, the end goal, and whatever time frame, now that you've kind of broken it down and made it this sequential steps, go to wherever. If you think it's going to take you 2 months, start 2 months from now and schedule backwards. That is how you do that. And you reverse engineer that. And then going into the next week from when you've planned this all out, you know exactly what you're going to do. Now, always keep in mind when you are planning that you're also just not jam-packing your calendar like I used to, but you plan according to your energy. So you already got active things that you're doing in your business. You have full authority to change and shift timeframes in when you are doing things. Just know that if you want to make those big shifts in your business, you need to make time. And it's not a time problem. It's you thinking you don't have a blank canvas. Start over. If you've got this running template and you don't feel like anything's working in your calendar, start fresh. Start completely fresh. And also, as I've mentioned before, put in your non-negotiables first, because if you're also feeling like you're burning the candle at both ends, you likely are. So put in all the stuff for you and your family and the things that are important to you first. Your exercises, your walks, whatever it is, your spa day, whatever. Put all those in first and then start fresh with what your work schedule looks like. And then making sure you're putting in these needle moving activities aligned to where you're at your cognitive peak, and then plan the rest of your days around what's happening already, because what's happening is already happening. So what you need to do is to make exponential changes and exponential growth, you need to make changes in your calendar. So we all have the same amount of time, but how we utilize that time and where we are putting things in our calendar is completely up to you. So you reverse engineer that. That's how you do it. You stop thinking, oh, I'm not already there. You have to just get rid of that piece of it and focus on the now things because your future present. So you know what you want, and now you are executing the ways to get there. And that's being present, future focused, because now you've prioritized, because not everything is important. Not everything's on fire like I thought. And you, again, not sure that's a real word, but it is going to be for this video, depedestalizing your goal. Because if it's too big and it's too far away from you, you feel as though you're never going to get there. And you can make anything happen. This is the point, is anything is possible. You just have to look at it from a different lens and not look at it like that can't happen for you. Because if you have this vision and this goal and this dream, you don't just get it just for you to not have it. That doesn't make sense. It's completely plausible for you to have it. You have to figure out the how for yourself. And that is going to be using your calendar that reflects your goals, business and personal. Because again, it's all connected and it all starts with you. And in this case, it's you and your calendar. So if you live by your calendar and your calendar is not working for you, you are not working for you. And you have the full authority to change that and make that work for you and to get you to those big goals that you have for yourself, because it's completely in your control to do that. And now you know how. Granted, this was a high level overview. So if you want to dive in more, feel free to check out my website. I have more information there, or any of my videos here on the Practice Essentials playlist. And if you want a little bit more, check out my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the things. It would mean a lot to me and help this channel reach other business owners that would benefit from it. And I will see you in my next video.